Thank you very much. Yeah, just a pleasure to be here, just down the road in London. Convenient, or maybe just Contentful were too tight to fly anyone better in. But anyway, I'm here to present about why content leads commerce. I've got about 10 minutes. I'm going to start to run through, and I really wanted to start off with something a bit provocative. There is no composable headless commerce without content. There's bound to be some other software vendors here today that would tend to disagree with that, but at Contentful, this is something we're seeing more and more. And a bit of an information about what Contentful is. We're a headless, cloud-native content platform. And in my role within that is I am a senior account executive, which means you're not going to see any architecture diagrams, and you're not going to certainly not see any code from me today. But what I am going to talk about is this. Why do we believe, or what are we seeing in the industry where there is no composable headless commerce without content? And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense, right? If we look at brands like IKEA, they're not selling us product information. They're selling us inspiration. They're showing us where their pieces can exist within our lives and within our rooms. And we're seeing this across a number of different brands. You look at Home Depot, they've completely changed their content strategy to focus much more on renovation projects. And when you think about other brands like Staples, they're putting all of their effort into discoverability. How do consumers find us through different channels? And once they're with us, how do they engage with us? And once they're a customer, how do we support them through some of the support channels that we've got? And that's really kind of epitomized here, because we're not just seeing content playing an important role in that attraction stage where we can help people discover us as a brand, but throughout every touch point that a customer has with us in the buying cycle. So we need to be able to support them through their buying process, and we need to be able to support them once they've become a customer, start using us in that knowledge-based kind of use case there. So your users are going to demand rich, engaging, and relevant experiences that exist across all touch points. And your teams require the best platform and apps to create, iterate, orchestrate, and deliver content fast and reliably. But the reality is it's not always that straightforward. We heard earlier with the mattress brand talking about the complexity of some of the architectures that put across. And this is because fractured point solutions are commonplace in brands that we engage with. Digital touch points exist in organizations across a myriad of experiences and across a myriad of teams. And what this really drives is siloed teams developing things on their own, going off and building new experiences under the guise of that it's quicker and more efficient and gets us to the point of value that we want to be far easier than if we were to have a centralized strategy. And that's not always the case, and certainly the reality doesn't pan out that way. As organizations evolve, much more of these experiences and touch points are going to be developed within organizations. And this is going to lead to more systems being purchased, more systems being implemented, more development teams being spun up, a greater reliance on shadow IT functions, or over-reliance on agencies, or even using agencies in the wrong way, deploying them to update microcopy on apps when really they should be focusing on the experiences that are going to turn the needle for us as a brand. And the reason for this, and one of the reasons for this, is that content management systems traditionally haven't necessarily been equipped to handle this evolving space. If we take a quick kind of history tour, and I'm looking at the guys from Uniform here, and we used to work together at Sitecore, but if we go back, I've been in this space for about 10 years, and when I first came in, content management was very technically led. We were technical focused, it was about web administrations, it was about page templates. In recent times, we've seen a swing upwards to be more practitioner focused. When marketing teams saw the benefit of customer experience, content management platforms, they jumped on them. So we saw the introduction of tools like WYSIWYG interfaces, and we saw content and commerce being bundled into a single suite. In more recent terms, that swing has come back down to having more of a technical focus, and headless CMSs were adopted widely and starting to decouple that front-end presentation from the back-end, enabling us to push experiences out and serve more channels at speed and at scale. And as we move into this new world, we're really starting to talk about content platforms that help us as brands accelerate and innovate quickly. So what we're really talking about is this new world of connected, high-quality platforms that enable consistent customer focus and high-quality experiences. And TELUS is a great example of this. For those of you who don't know, in the UK, don't really know about them. TELUS are the third largest telco in Canada. And I don't know how they feel about being described as the third largest, but it feels like a kind of big deal. They're the third largest telco in Canada, and they have over 40 different digital touchpoints. And these were traditionally served through 7 content management systems. We think about the impact of that on a business, not only from a cost point of view of purchasing those different platforms, maintaining those platforms, but the human impact of developer retention that we've heard a little bit over the last couple of days. How do we make that developer experience a happy one? How do we retain our talent? How do we have to stop resetting time and time again when we bring in new people? So TELUS were able to reduce those 7 content management systems into a single point on Contentful, delivering out experiences to their loyalty programs, their web, their knowledge base, through commerce, with their product pages, and they're able to do this quickly and at speed. But it's not always about having lots of digital products in place that content needs to be served through. When we think back to IKEA, the challenge that IKEA had was they wanted to unify content operations across 40 different countries and in 34 different languages. The teams were working in complete silos, and they had no way of tracking where content was being deployed effectively. Some regions were doing particularly well, and some regions weren't, but they had no idea why that was the case. So their goal was to have much more consistency across brands and across borders. And they even put KPIs around this, where they started to think about, can we have an 80-20 split between reusability of content and localization of content within regions? So the end state that they got to, and what we're starting to see with big global brands who have this global scale requirement, is this idea that we can create a model, a content operations model within our CMS that enables us to have a hub, a spoke, and a node way of deploying. So in the hub, we've got this idea of centrally produced and managed content that can be shared and reused across all of our different regions and countries, whilst maintaining a degree of autonomy for those markets where they can then build upon that content, build out the pieces that they feel works for them as a market and we know are effective, and then even push back into that globally shepherd. And it leads to having much more visibility of where our content is being used and where our content is being deployed effectively. They even built this application within Contentful that enabled them to see which market was reusing content most, achieving those KPIs and increasing those efficiencies. It would be remiss of me as a salesperson not to come on stage and not to look at the Contentful in a little bit more detail, but this is kind of important, right? Because as we go into this new world and we start as organizations to think differently about content. The content doesn't just exist within the web, it exists across all these different digital products that we might have, whether that is serving micro copy out through an internal application, whether it's ensuring that our internal customer service teams have the same experience with their applications as our consumers do. We need a platform that supports that. And Contentful is incredibly well positioned in terms of sending out 9 billion API calls daily. We have active Contentful users worldwide of 1.7 million, means there's a massive pool of resources to dip into. And when you are looking at technology to support this, that is important. Thank you very much. My time is there.